So, again, we have communist car. Racing games kind of suck now. I don't know how long videos like this are going to stay online. I would like to check out the Minecraft console stuff, but apparently they've been going and fucking around with stuff, so I don't know if that's going to lead to a video being striked. Yeah. The worst English phrase book ever written. Wait, how long's this? Could check that out. I'm assuming this is... Oh, this is a English book for Portuguese speakers. Okay. Yeah, there is still Vape Car. Yeah. Vape Car as well. Also, Nile Blue. We'll check out Phrasebook. Is this English as she is spoke? It's legendary. Oh, this is a known book? Okay, sure. You got my attention.
This room is filled...
It is exactly that. Yes.
This room is filled of bugs.
Oh!
This girl have a beauty edge.
She does.
These peaches make me ant to come water in mouth.
Sorry?
Girl have a beauty edge. These peaches make me ant to come water in mouth.
Is this just like a Japanese shirt? Japanese shirts, English words. Let's find one. Here we go. Here's a good example. Just first example I saw. Precise dwarf bravery. Don't choice a wicked want funny. IMages are hopefully in your head since 1982. Lovey-dovey night, highfalutin. Anyway. Now, that's literally shit I expect in, Aki, this is Japan's most English short. Yeah, exactly.
This English phrase book is unintentionally one of the funniest books ever written. Mark Twain described it as perfect. This guy was a fan too. I think you're going to love it as well. So let's explore it in another Rob words.
Okay.
Dress you hare, no budge you there.
What?
I have a story to tell you.
Okay.
It is a story of
Tell me.
extraordinary confidence matched with even greater incompetence. It's the story of this book, English as She Is Spoke. Almost certainly the most misguided guide to the English language ever compiled. It was originally...
As She Is Spoke isn't that terrible of a phrase. Look, of all the things we're going to see in this book, that's probably the least bad.
Published in 1855 in Portuguese as the New Conversational Guide in Portuguese and English, or O Novo Guia de Conversação em Português e Inglês. Okay, I made rather a mess of the Portuguese pronunciation there because I do not speak Portuguese,
I don't
that
either.
I am happy to admit. But if only the writer of this book, one Pedro Carolino, had shown the same level of self-awareness, then his name might not have gone down in infamy. Because even the most casual look at his guide to conversational English tells you that he can barely speak a word of it. Otherwise, he could never have written such familiar phrases, as he calls them, as "that are the dishes whose you must be and to abstain."
What?
"Help to a little most the better yours terms," or "I am confused or yours civilities." He's confused. Have you understand they? Absolutely.
No, he was just ahead of his time. He was just ahead of his time.
Absolutely not, Pedro. But luckily for us, Senor Carolino's appalling grasp of English makes this book a joyous and hilarious read. My life would be poorer for not having read such beautiful and supposedly handy phrases as
Give me some good milk, newly get out. It must never to laugh at the unhappies. I dead myself in envy.
Sorry, the one you're skipping over. He was wanting to be killed.
Never to laugh at the unhappies. I dead myself in envy to see her.
There are so many more where those came
I think
from,
the entire book is
particularly
a mess.
in the appropriately named idiotisms and proverbs section, which we will get
I
onto.
am catch
But first, I
trolled.
do feel I need to
All your bases are belong to us. Maybe that's where that came from. Maybe they read the book. That's how they learn English.
point out something. I wouldn't normally mock someone's bad English. I think anyone who is making an effort to speak a foreign language should be praised.
Fair, but most people who are learning a foreign language don't write a phrase book for a language they don't know. This is a different case. Mock them all day. Most people don't pretend to know a language.
For it not have the
Unless they're on TikTok. We're gonna do it again. I've played it before. I'm gonna play it again.
I'm getting secondhand embarrassment. Sunogo no gashimasu. Is Japanese a hard language? Soki tandaki do. Shigashi anta ga renshu shoreba, anata yoki narimasu. You speaks Japanese. Me follows you. Thank you. I think
Pretends
English
not
is
to know
very
English.
beautiful language too. Just a little confusing sometimes. What do you think about penguins?
Penguins?
Penguins. I think they are very cute. Yeah, very, very cute.
Couldn't work out how to pretend to say that in Japanese.
Mickey taken out of them. However,
Sucky-tan, ducky-doo.
in this case, it's different. Because this is a man claiming to be a master of a language of which he is not, in order to make money. He actually sold these books. And even if you ignore that this was a commercial endeavour, his book would have only harmed the studious Portuguese and Brazilian youth that it was aimed at, leading them completely down the wrong path on their English learning journey. In fact, it seems evident that it did do precisely that. The story goes that this book came to the wider attention of the English-speaking world in the 1860s after it was found on the Portuguese island colony of Macau, being used as a school textbook. Those poor kiddies may well have gone the rest of their lives thinking it is normal to say, "He burns oneself the brains."
With that being the case, do you think this affected the vernacular of English speakers in this region to this day, right? Because think about it like this, right? If you speak to someone who is from India, it is very common that they will constantly call you sir, okay? And the reason for that is the same reason as in Japanese. In Japanese, you have like the way you refer to someone is with these honorifics. In like Hindi is a similar like sort of structure. That's why it sounds weird converted to English, but that's why that is done. I wonder if this has any effect on English speakers from those regions to this day.
He is valuable, his weight's gold, and he do the devil at 4. I've got a clue what he's getting at with that one. And English as she is spoke is not just a phrase book, it's also a not-so-helpful guide to English vocab. In it, Pedro introduces us to such typical English trades as the pork shop keeper, the Chinaman, and the lock.
I assume that's someone who makes China, not specifically saying Chinaman.
Smith. Such delicacies or eatings as a little mine, a dainty dishes, and some wigs. Such popular pastimes as the games of gleek, carousal and keel, and such commonly encountered marine life as a sort of fish,
Sort of fish.
the wolf, and the hedgehog. Now, I actually do know what he's getting at with the hedgehog. I'll get into that shortly. But first we have to ask, how on earth did this happen?
Good question.
What gave the mysterious Pedru Carolinu the confidence to compile this compendium of corrupted English, a language with which it would appear he had barely a nodding acquaintance? Well, that was a question puzzled over by early English-speaking readers of the book, but one to which they quickly agreed upon an answer that is set out in the introduction to the version of the book that was distributed, all for the sake of a good laugh, at the expense of poor Senor Carolino. So this is actually a modern copy of that book.
Right.
And in the intro it says, "A little consideration of the shaping of our author's English phrases leads us to the conclusion that the materials used have been a Portuguese-French phrase book and a French-English dictionary."
What?
So what it appears Pedro has done is studiously copy out the Portuguese words and phrases from someone else's Portuguese to French phrase book and then translated the French bits word by word into English using his French to English dictionary.
Okay, now I'm seeing something.
So what so many of the examples in this book actually are French sentences with English words. All of a sudden, so much more of it makes sense.
Right.
For example, he attempts to teach his students the phrase, "He laughs at my nose, he jests
By me.
which is obviously utter gibberish in English. But if you know that the French equivalent of "he's laughing in my face" is "il me rit au nez," literally, "he laughs to my nose," Pedro's botched English is somewhat more explicable. At another point in the book, he claims that a common English expression is to build castles in Spanglish. Invented word aside, if you know the French idiom bâtir des châteaux en Espagne, it makes more sense. That's the French for to build castles in Spain, and it means an unwise or unrealistic endeavour. An English equivalent would be build castles in the sky, which is actually a much better translation of the original Portuguese build castles in the air. However, Pedro's detour via French means we've ended up with something just utterly silly. Oh, and the aquatic hedgehog thing. That is because at one time the French words for hedgehog and sea urchin were the same, which makes sense. They're both spiky little fellas, aren't they? Dear Pedro just picked the wrong option in his dictionary. So 19th century sleuths cracked Pedro Carolinu's code, this translation via a third language, French. However, it is not at all surprising that they managed to do so, because the author did an absolutely terrible job of covering it up. For example, the book is full of confusing references to francs instead of the British or Portuguese.
Right, French currency, okay.
Currency. In scenarios set out within the pages, people keep asking each other how their French learning is going. And at one point, there's even a joke that only works in French. In the anecdotes section, we're regaled with this amusing tale. The commander Forbin Janson, being at a repast with a celebrated Boileau was a poet, I think, had undertaken to pun him upon her name. Confusing. What name told him carry you thither? Boileau? I would wish better to call me drink wine.
Now that's a fire joke.
I'm sure you did, but let me just explain it anyway, because it's always better to explain a joke, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
You see, Boileau sounds exactly like the French bois l'eau, which means drink the water. That's why the commander quips, I would wish better to call me drink wine. Classic. How does the anecdote end? Seeing as you asked. The poet was answered him in the same tune. And you, sir, what name have you choice? Janson? I should prefer to be named John Meal. The meal don't is valuable better than the further.
Yep.
I honestly have no idea. Anyway, Carolino is using French jokes in a book that has no business containing them. What's more, he incorrectly refers to people from England as Englishers. He clearly knows very little English and probably very little French either. This knowledge that we have to factor in...
Well, this is something you can get away with, but like, even like I know this is the 1800s. You could get away with this even in like the 1900s. You can get away with this before common air travel, before the internet, because it was like before air travel, it was really unlikely that someone had met someone from another country, right? If you were dealing with people who, like, the number of people traveling on boats was drastically smaller than what you have for, obviously, English speakers now, for plane travels now. Oh, is that a link to the book? Okay.
In French, when reading Pedro's gibberish, actually makes what he writes arguably more enjoyable. Knowing that this isn't just bad translation, it is the product of a whole misguided process. As promised, let's look at this book's notorious idiotisms and proverbs section, which is an absolute goldmine of grotesque abuses of English.
Okay.
Of course, probably means idioms rather than idiotisms, but
it
I think you might have accidentally stumbled upon the truth. A favourite among scholars of the tome is Pedro's supposedly common English saying, to craunch the marmoset. It turns out it is an attempted translation of the highly idiomatic French expression croquer le marmot, which means to wait impatiently. This does, in one way, translate into to bite or to crunch the marmoset. However, it actually harks back to an old French use of the word croquer to mean to knock, and a marmot as an old word not for a marmoset, but for a door knocker.
Aha!
So it means to knock on a door impatiently. It has nothing to do with consuming monkeys. Although, fun fact, or impatient.
To make paps for the cat, to fatten the foot. Burn the politeness. To buy cat in pocket. To be as a fish into the water. You know what? That's not too far off.
It has nothing to do with consuming monkeys. Although, fun fact, in modern French, a marmoset is called a ouistiti, which is the word that French people use instead of cheese when they take a photo. Cute. Anyway, other classics in Pedro's idiotic list include, in the country of blinds, the one-eyed men are kings. Close, but not quite right, is it? A horse barred, don't look him the tooth, which is an interesting take on don't look a gift horse in the mouth, and it want to beat the iron during that it is hot. Almost.
He is not so devil as he is black. This fucking book, man.
And another close but yet so far one is the stone as roll, not heap up, not foam.
Oh, yes.
This makes a lot more sense if you understand that the French words for foam and moss are the same.
Oh.
There are so many more of those, and I'll tell you how you can enjoy them for yourself at the end. But first, I want to point out something else unusual about Pedro Carolinu's approach when writing this book. He refers to himself as we throughout the introduction. Now, it might just be that he's got his English or French pronouns all muddled up. That's certainly not beyond him. But it's also probably because he wants us to believe that this book has two authors. Indeed, originally, two people were credited with having compiled it. Pedro Carolinu
was he a fake author?
A much more highly reputed writer of language books named
Wait, did he just lie? Or did this person, like, write a foreword or something?
José de Fonseca. Now, I don't think a huge amount is known about José de Fonseca, but thanks to the work of a linguist named Alexander McBride from UCLA in the early 2000s, we do know a few key things. One of them is that José de Fonseca could speak very good English. He was in fact the author of the 1837 Guide de la Conversation Française et Anglaise, a guide to French and English.
Wait! Did he credit the author of the French to English dictionary as the author of his book? Wait, I think that's where we're going.
Conversation. It was credited to Joseph de Fonseca, but according to McBride, there is plenty of evidence that José and Joseph or Joseph were the same person.
Right.
And that book is a perfectly competent, even useful, introduction to English for French speakers.
Right.
So if José de Fonseca had a good grasp of English, how could he have possibly played any role in producing this hilariously misguided take on the language? Well, the answer is he didn't, or at least not knowingly. You see, we know that Pedro Carolino was in possession of 2 books, a Portuguese-French phrasebook and a French-English dictionary. But we also know which specific book one of those was. It was the New Conversation Guide in Portuguese and French by one José de Fonseca. What it seems may well have happened is that Pedro Carolino, having copied so much from José de Fonseca's work and not being entirely shameless, decided to give him a co-writing credit, an act of generosity that ultimately resulted in José de Fonseca's name being instead dragged through the mud along with Carolino's, as it was linked with a book that would have never met his own standards. Lacking in quality, this book may have been, but something that it hasn't lacked over the past century and a half or so
I can only imagine.
Fans, and in high places too. After its discovery in Macau, it became a sensation either side of the Atlantic, with British and American readers scrambling to get copies of it. And we know that at least one of those copies found its way into the hands of a certain Abraham Lincoln, who's said to have used it as an amusing distraction during the American Civil War. In her political biography of Honest Abe, Team of Rivals, Doris Kearns Goodwin writes how, in the depths of the war, Fred Seward records a pleasant evening that January when Lincoln walked over to Seward's with John Hay to share a humorous language guidebook, English as She Is Spoke. As John Hay read aloud its queer inverted sentences, Lincoln and Seward laughed heartily, their minds finding a brief but welcome relief from care. Indeed, who couldn't laugh heartily at such unintentionally bad advice as take attention to cut yourself and take care to dirt yourself?
I don't want to dirt
yourself. You see why this book was such a welcome distraction. You really can just open it at any old random page and find something to laugh at. Yeah, okay, here we are. We have a list of woman objects.
Woman objects? Okay.
On there, the paint or disguise.
Right.
I think he meant makeup. And Abraham Lincoln wasn't the only American national treasure to take a shine to English as She Is Spoke. Another is none other than Mark Twain, who loved it so much he agreed to write the introduction to the American print run. You know what, let me just read you some of that actually, because it's Mark Twain, so it's brilliant. And you're going to just see how much he loved this book. Let's do it. In this world of uncertainties... No, don't worry, I'm not actually going to do the accent. In this world of uncertainties, there is, at any rate, one thing which may be pretty confidently set down as certainty. And that is that this celebrated little phrasebook will never die while the English language lasts. Its delicious, unconscious ridiculousness and its enchanting naivete are as supreme and unapproachable in their way as are Shakespeare's sublimities. Whatsoever is perfect in its kind in literature is imperishable. Nobody can imitate it successfully. Nobody can hope to produce its fellow. It is perfect. It must and will stand alone. Its immortality is secure. Many persons have believed that this book's miraculous stupidities were studied and disingenuous, but no one can read the volume carefully through and keep that opinion. It was written in serious good faith and deep earnestness by an honest and upright idiot who believed he knew something of the English language and could impart his knowledge to others. One cannot open this book anywhere and not find richness.
Great foreword.
Mark Twain, everybody.
Great introduction.
Leave the video there because it's cold out here and I don't wish to catch cold in the brain.
No, you
I
don't
do
want to do
recommend
that.
you read this book. It's actually out of copyright. It's in the public domain, so you can find it for free all over the internet, or you can buy yourself a floppy copy like this for not very much money. Or, I tell you what, I'm going to leave a link in the description with a version of it that includes some of my notes and highlights. It'll be totally free for you to access unless you want to pay for it. I have to give a quick thanks to Jessie Hammer, a subscriber to my newsletter, who introduced me to English as She Is Spoke and enriched my life in the process. And thanks to you for watching. And let me leave you with some good advice.
What a book. What a phenomenal book. This is something that could never be created now. Immediately, like, there's so many resources out there for any language to learn English. There's no way something like this could ever be created now. And it would be mocked, like, before it even gets printed. That was fun, though. I enjoyed that.